Okay, we finished cutting our push stick to the right width. We've got our name written on our blank because they're all going to look the same. We want to make sure this is yours, you don't lose it. Next thing we need to do is cut it to the right length. So we got the right width. This is probably going to be too long, so we got to cut this off. And this is step 3. Use a miter gauge to cut the blank to length. Okay, so you got this ready. You come up, somebody else will cut ahead of you. We're ready to go. Here is your miter gauge. So over on the side here, we'll grab the miter gauge. Should be laying right there. We'll pick that up. We're going to make our cut with this. Before we put it in the machine, we want to make sure that it is at 90 degrees because we use this for different angles. So what we do is, it looks like it's close to 90, but to check and see if it is, you actually take your the square right here, lay it against the edge of this, and slide it up until it touches. So I'm holding this against this side here, and check this. Now if you see right here, this one is not bad, but it's just slightly out. I'm touching right here. There's a little gap right in here. I can get my fingernail in there, so thumbnail. So there's a little bit of a gap there. It's not the greatest. So I loosen this off, turning it counterclockwise, okay, and then slide that down. Now there, it's much better. Okay, it's sitting flat. Tighten that down. That's good. So it would have cut okay. Would have been okay for our push stick, but it's good to get in the habit of making sure that that is square. You can check the other side as well if you wish. Okay. And looks good. Okay, square back in here, and now we're ready to use this. Okay, so we'll slide this in. There's a track right here for the miter gauge. Okay, so key slot. We'll slide this up, and then the miter gauge goes in here. So using the miter gauge, you also got to prepare this. You're going to be. It says here, you follow the directions. It says mark your blank at 260 millimeters using a yellow ruler. Okay, so 260 millimeters is also 26 centimeters. So that's the length we're going to have. Okay, now it says it's got a little arrow over here. You need to mark it like this. So as you measure this, we need to come from this side over to here, 26 centimeters, and put a mark on that. So you'll notice that the ruler's upside down. So you could go like this and move it over, but we actually want that mark on the front edge here. So it's easy to go like this. Okay, if I try to turn it around like this, I can't mark, and there's no marks on the other side. So the easiest is to go over here, put this on 26 on the edge here, and then 0 is where I'm going to want to put my mark. Okay, so pencil, nice sharp pencil works better, or mechanical pencil is nice too. 26 here. I'm coming up to here, making a mark at 0 right there. A little bit of feathers on there. Okay. Not actual wood feathers, we call them. There's a 0 mark, so that's where I'm going to cut. I don't need to make the mark up and down, don't need it at all. The miter gauge is going to help me cut that straight. I just need to know where to set the first, start the cut. Okay. Ruler back up on top where it came from, and then I'm going to be grabbing the miter gauge. Again, you're coming along, somebody has already, we need to make sure this is set up properly. It's dropped down the way it should be, which is good. Loosen this guy off, okay. Loosen the tension knob, lift it up. We want to be going for a 1/4 inch above, or basically a pencil width. I don't want to get my finger underneath there. Okay, and tighten that up. Okay. Now, I'm going to come around to the front because we're going to be standing. And when we're lining this up, so the way we use the miter gauge means that I can only go ahead and back. Okay, and the neat thing about the miter gauge is I don't need push sticks because my hands can't get near the danger zone because they can only go straight ahead and back. Okay. What I do need to know though is get this set up in the right spot. So my palm will sit on here. My fingers are going to wrap around like this, and that holds it down and in. So I usually like to have a finger on top pushing down and a couple fingers in the front squeezing it together, and I want to hold it there. When I go ahead and cut this piece, I don't want it to kick out like that because that will now cut at the wrong angle, not the nice square angle that I want at 90 degrees against this. So there we go. My left hand will grab onto here, and I'm going to bring this up. I haven't started it yet. I'm ready to start, but I'm almost ready to start. I bring this up, and I want to line this up. In this case, come on in closer. In this case, I'm keeping this piece. This is my good piece. My off cut is here. So whatever side my good piece is on, the piece I'm keeping, I measure from that side of the blade. So in this case, we're talking about the blade being flailed out. I want to find the tooth that is pointing to the right side the most, and I want to use that because that's going to be the end of my cut, or the edge of my kerf. Okay? And so I take, what I want is, because I want that to be on that line right there, I want to bring the right side of my blade, right tooth, which is that guy right there, I want it to be coming right down and just kissing the outside of that line right there. So I bring that up, set that up, bring it up so it's really nice and close. I've got my hand on here. Okay, looks good. I'm going to back this up keep my hand on here so this doesn't move, and now I'm ready to start it. So with my left hand, I'm going to come over here, pop out my emergency stop, green to start, boom, give it a minute to come up to speed. Then I'm going to come in, bring this ahead, and double check to make sure I'm in the right spot. So I'm bringing it up, looks pretty good. Maybe now that the blade's moving, it might look a little different, so I might want to, this one I'm going to slide it a little closer, just like 0.5 millimeter. There I look good. And my left hand grabs this knob, wrap it around so it can't go anywhere, and then I'm going to push ahead and start to watch and see where that's cutting. If I was off, I could back up, but not more than, that's only amount I want to back up. And I can adjust that a little bit, but I'm good, so I'm going to keep on going through. Okay, I'm going to push that straight through. So, not too fast, it's nice and steady, going through, boom. It's cut right there, but I want to go all the way beyond the back edge of the blade. Now, I don't just want to back straight up, because then my piece of wood will be coming by the edge of the blade. So I slide it away from the blade, out, away from the blade, and then back this up, and then I punch this off. Okay? So this is slowing down, but I still have that piece sitting right there that I cut off. So I take my push stick here blank that I just cut, switch it to my left hand because the piece is on the left hand side of the blade, lay it down like this, and I'm going to carefully push this on through. Okay? So don't jab at it, stab, or flick. I'm carefully pushing it on through. I kept this, I don't want to go like this or like this because that'll push it off to the side, but straight on through, and then I come back and I reach around. I can either reach into the left or reach to the right, nice and wide like that, and grab it. This piece, go into the recycling bin, keep it if you want. This is the one you want here. And I never walk away until the blade is stopped. I didn't mention that in the last video, but we always want to make sure the blade is stopped before we walk away. And I can tell the blade is stopped when I can see the teeth. Okay? Yes, you can hear in here when it gets quiet, but when the machines are on, everything's running, you can't hear that. You need to go by your sight. If you can see the teeth, it's stopped, and then you can walk away. Okay? My push stick is done. I'm going to pull out the miter gauge, put that back up on here. Okay? Kind of sit sideways like that. My push stick has my name on it. Make sure you didn't cut if you put your name on one end, your name's still on this piece. Okay? And then we need to drop this down. So I come over, loosen this, lower it down, snug it up again, and we're ready for the next person to go. Okay? One thing I didn't mention with the miter gauge, we normally don't use the fence unless, for this case, we don't need to. We've got the one cut on there, we just put it in. But let's say I wanted to make a whole bunch of these pieces that I cut off. If I wanted to make a bunch of those, then that's somewhere where I would bring this in, set up my fence here, put this at the right height. Okay. And then now, if I set that up and set my fence at that same width that we just had, okay, now I can bring this over. When I had the line, I was using the line to measure it, but now I've set that up. I would get my measuring tape out for this width here, our ruler, set it up, I'm ready to cut. So now I can make a whole bunch more of these, and I would just bring this in, touch there, run it through, cut it, slide away once I get to the back edge, so cut, slide away, back up, push it through, touch the fence again, and that's going to make another cut, and that'll give me a whole bunch of these. That's when I would use the fence with the miter gauge, but if I'm just making one cut like we are here, I don't need that, I don't need the fence on it. Okay, over, again, keep the space there, tighten it up. Okay, so right now you're done with this. If you were the only one using this, there's nobody waiting for you, you've made your cuts, you put your scrap in the scrap bin, you got what you want, you finished down to step number 3. The next thing to do would be to grab the broom, the hand broom and dustpan, and just sweep this off, keep it nice and neat. Okay? Any pieces of wood that might be around. Okay? Now, normally this will only happen at the end of the class, when you're all finished, and that would go into the garbage. Okay? Normally I only have it at the end of the class because usually somebody waiting for it, so you don't have to do that in between unless it gets really dirty. Again, also drop down your fence, that back. And the final thing we should do at the end of class is unplug this, okay, and put it on there. Okay? And again, with COVID, the final thing I would say is when we're using this at the start of the class, before we use this, we should wipe down. We don't want to get sanitizer on the table here because it's metal and it'll rust. But the things we touch, so this can be wiped down with a wipe. Grab a wipe or a spray bottle with spray a rag or a paper towel and wipe this down. Wipe the buttons that we hit down. Wipe these down and wipe this down. Okay? The plastic touch surfaces that we touch, you could go ahead and wipe those down to keep those clean. Right now, you finished we're done step 3. That's all done. Step 4 is next, and that's making your design out of cardboard. So in a perfect world, you would take this piece over, go to your cardboard, place it down, trace around it, and then cut out, use your box cutter to cut that out and see how it feels in your hand. You can make changes really easy with the cardboard. It's nice and cheap, so you can feel how it feels in your hand. If you are waiting for the bandsaw and you made only one cut, or you're waiting, there's too many people here, you can actually go ahead, skip ahead to step 4 where you make your design out of cardboard. And in that case, you don't have this to trace around, so you would just measure 5.5 centimeters up and 26 centimeters long, draw that rectangle on your piece of wood, cut that out, and then when you get this cut out, you just take your other piece, stick it right on here. Okay, and with that, you have we're ready to move on to the drill press, the next video, where you have the drill press. Just remember that before you do cut out your next thing, make sure you show me your cardboard model so you get it approved. Which brings you to the end of step 4, and we'll start with step 5 in the next video.